There is nothing worse than potential unrealized. We all have things that hold us back. What if we could find a way to get us unstuck? I'm Lachelle Weemy, and I am going to walk alongside you as you make the decision to get unstuck. Tune in as I help you realize that you are not alone, inspire hope, and offer practical solutions to help you step boldly into the life that you are meant to live. Hey, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the UNSTUCK podcast. And oh my goodness, today I get a chance to spend a few minutes with my dear, dear friend, Nicole Czarnomski. And she and I are going to be chatting about her journey. Oh my goodness, she's going to be inspiring. And I can't wait for you guys to get to know her because she's literally one of my favorite people in this whole wide world. So, Nicole, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so very much for having me. I feel the same way about you. You're a very special person, and I look up to you and strive to be just like you because you're an amazing inspiration.
Back at you. The two of us met a couple of years ago at a retreat that we both spoke at, which was really fun. And so I got to see you kind of in your shining moment straight away. And I knew that you were onto something really special. And one of the things that really stood out to me about our time together when we met was your vulnerability. And so thank you for bringing that today to our conversation. And I'm going to fast forward so that our audience can get a sense of who you are now today. And then we'll back up and kind of go back to the journey and on what it took for you to get there. So describe Nicole in today's terms. What are you up to? What are you most proud of? What's going on?
Sure. Well, right now, I feel like I'm probably the most confident I've ever been in my life. All those journeys that I've gone through in the past have brought me to this moment. And right now, I'm in the middle of promoting a book that I launched last year. I know it sounds probably pretty counterintuitive to launch a book during COVID, but I did it anyway. Because my goal is to help people. So that's really who I am now. I'm my full-time job. I help people. I'm a marketing director at a senior living community. I help people find the appropriate housing. I love working with seniors. They have fantastic stories. They're just so rich with history and just beautiful people. And I also work with breast cancer patients. 4 years ago in July, it'll be this coming year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was devastated, as anyone would be. But I was so frustrated because I thought I was this healthy human being putting all kinds of good food in my mouth and exercising and all of that. And how could my body betray me? But the journey made me realize that it's okay. There's always going to be a challenge in your life, and that's the challenge I was given. And I wanted to, in turn, be that support person for everyone else going through the same thing that I was going through. I knew what it was like to need somebody to talk to who got it, who had been through it. So that's what I'm doing now. I work with 2 organizations and I support breast cancer, newly diagnosed patients, and sometimes just survivors, because even right after treatment, you have the aftermath and it's like, well, what do I do now? I've been fighting for my life for the last 9 months.
Right.
There's no more fight. So, what now?
Yeah. And it's almost like somebody has described it to me like, you have a death and then there's a funeral and there's people around. And then it's like when all of the people go away and all of the, in your case, all of the treatments go away, all of the things go away. And now you're just stuck with like this new reality and everybody's gone and I don't know what to do with this new version of me.
That's exactly right. What a great analogy.
And so you do all of this like out of the goodness of your heart on top of your job. and all of the things that you're doing. And so, gosh, like what a servant. And one of the things that I really just want to share with people to get a sense of who you are, Nicole. So there's a girl that I know through social media. I saw that she was diagnosed with breast cancer recently. I reached out to Nicole and I just said, hey, I would love to buy your book for her. What's the best way for me to get it? Should I get it from you? Should I get it from Amazon? Like, what should I do? And Nicole, you were so sweet. You're like, let me send it to her. You sent her a handwritten little card, like that extra step that you go to make somebody feel like, hey, I don't know you, but I'm with you. You're not alone in this. And I think that, gosh, for you to take something so hard, like going through a diagnosis like that, and using it to make your mission in life to be the light for other people who are going through that is just incredible.
Mhm. People need that. I've heard it time and again, when they're first diagnosed, and I may not always have the right words to say though. It's sometimes just being that ear, being
Yes.
that shoulder, being that support person that they know, okay, this person gets it. They know exactly what it felt like when I had a test done and had to wait 3 or 4 days to get the results, and you're sitting on pins and needles. This
Yes.
person gets where my family and my friends, they're doing their best, but they don't quite understand the emotions that are happening.
Right, right. I mean, it means so much to know that you have a tribe of people who understand. And it's not even close to the same. So I don't even want to like even imply that. But when I was diagnosed with melanoma, I happened to work in the hospital, a part of the hospital where all of the people with end stage melanoma would go for their treatment, and
Mhm.
they were not doing well. And so I knew that part of that diagnosis, but my family was just like, oh, she has skin cancer. Like, that's no big deal. And I remember feeling really alone and scared because I'm like, I know what it could be, and nobody really understood. And so when you have somebody that understands kind of your journey, that understands your fears, that understands your insecurities, that can give you hope is so so helpful when you're going through something scary.
Yes, absolutely.
And so let's kind of take this conversation then to your book because that's really a lot of what your book is about. So I want you to kind of describe to us the book that you've written and kind of the journey that you went on in that.
Sure, thank you. So I am a writer. I've been a journaler as well for decades,
Yeah.
and I've always wanted to write a book, but I never knew what to write about. Fiction didn't seem appropriate. Not something that I was interested in.
Mhm.
Um, and when my diagnosis came, I knew almost immediately that that's the book. That's when I
Mhm.
needed to write it because I needed to have a tool for others going through the same thing, and I needed that therapy.
Mhm.
Writing for me is extremely cathartic. It's just that process of getting it out, being able to understand what's happening to me.
Right, right.
It is almost like talk therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Your brain is
so
processing what you're going through in the process of writing it out, I'm assuming.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And in writing, I found occasionally there were some little tidbits of humor in there of what I was going through. For example, an extremely good-looking plastic surgeon who was checking me out, not literally checking me out, doing the assessment, and I'm going, "Oh my goodness, my husband's in the room, he's there." And so you can kind of get some humor in some of these
Yes.
really dark places, and
Yeah.
I started sharing those stories with people, and it was amazing the response that I got. So again, that was just kind of that reinforcement that I need to do this. I need to share this with others.
That was one of my favorite parts of your book, actually, that story that you mentioned. And that's what you did is you talk in your book about your day-to-day experiences, almost like your journal come to life in a book, would you say?
Mhm. Absolutely.
And you're just taking people down that journey.
Absolutely. At one point, the journaling that I do is always handwritten, but I got
Yeah.
to a point in my journey, I didn't always have the energy to
Mm.
handwrite and to write as much. So
Yeah.
I just started doing everything on my laptop. So
Yeah.
I was, and then once I went back and started editing, um, then it was, I could kind of clean up those journalistic habits that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have.
What do you feel were some of the darkest days during this journey of breast cancer?
Sure, sure. Early on, I think was the hardest because it was, like I said, it was just a kick in the gut. I'm so healthy, no history of breast cancer. It was just the anger that I felt,
Yeah,
and I feel like anger, it's so detrimental to your health,
right.
and that's what I felt. And I remember going in to see the nurse the day before my double mastectomy,
Mhm.
and she came in and she was super peppy and bubbly, and she said, "Oh, I see you're having a double mastectomy." And the way she said it, it made me feel like it was an elective surgery that I wanted, an enhancement. And I said, "I have breast cancer." And it was a pretty snippy, short comment to her, and she said, "Oh, honey, you need to get that anger out." She said, "Don't carry that with you. If you can let it out right now here with me." And I thought, why would I want to do this with a stranger?
Mm.
And I know she just looked at me. I had nothing to say to her, and I was kind of scowling at her. And finally, she said, "I'm a three-time survivor." And I literally melted and thought,
Wow.
okay, this gal has it way worse than what I'm going through, not to compare, but perhaps you need to change that mode of thinking right now.
Wow.
So I think the anger part of it at the beginning was a pretty dark time,
Mhm.
and there was another period of time going through chemo. I had aggressive chemo at the beginning, adriamycin cytoxin, otherwise known as the Red Devil. My third treatment was so hard on my body. Um, I my blood pressure dropped to 89 over 55, and I had mouth sores and I was nauseous. I fainted at home at one point and I was home alone. I woke up and had no idea what had happened. I literally just blacked out. Um, those physical times were very, very dark as well. And I remember after that going in, and I was getting ready to have my fourth and last treatment for the Red Devil. And that's when I found out my blood pressure was so low. And my oncologist, the wonderful, very intelligent man that he is, saying, "I'm going to postpone your treatment." And I was furious. I'm like, "No, I have friends out in the waiting room waiting for me. We are finishing this today. I am done with this drug." I was so angry at him. I was so angry again. And all he wanted to do was help me. And he said, "If I give you this treatment today, you will be in the hospital. No, you're going home. We'll do it next week." So there was another pretty dark time. And then radiation, when I found out that the radiation could do quite a bit of damage to implants and the skin. Those were, I think, the three highlights of the pretty dark times that that anger started to surface again, and I really had to start redirecting how I was thinking about things. Otherwise, I feel like anger can kind of manifest really bad things in your body
Yeah.
physically.
Yep. And that nurse was a gift to you that day,
Oh,
but she
absolutely.
didn't, that wasn't the way that you saw it at the time. So I'm going to ask you a
Let me
question
ask you
next.
this.
Are you a business owner and you feel like you are literally tied to your phone all the time in order to keep up with social media? You know you need to post consistently, but you don't know what to post and you don't want to have to post every single day because it means that you're married to your phone. So then you're not consistent and then business doesn't follow. Or maybe you have no idea how to attract your ideal client and you want to find a way to get the right people to come to you. Oh my goodness, like that was totally where I was and I had to take some time and research to find out what the heck I could be doing to make my life so much better. So here's the scoop. I have found a system that I've created a system that has allowed me to not only attract my dream clients, but it's allowed me to be consistent by planning all of my content for an entire year in one single weekend. And I've decided to offer it to all of you guys. If that is something that you would love to learn more about, make sure to click on the link in the show notes so that you can learn how to get your life back, but keep your social media game on track.
Yeah.
And for those of you guys that are listening to this that, can't imagine how I could ask this question, I want to challenge you to ask yourself this question. And I know Nicole well enough, and I've read her book that I know she can handle this question. Nicole, what were the best parts of this journey? What
Finding
what
finding
good came
out,
out of this for you?
yeah, finding out how much I was loved by so many people. I, I had no idea the impact that I had on people's lives before this. I was so critical of myself. I never felt smart enough or pretty enough or thin enough. And I know it's probably very cliche, but I didn't have the confidence in who I was. And frankly, I bounced from job to job because I got to the point where I would feel like I wasn't worthy of the position that I had earned. And so I would just leave and find something else. So that confidence that I so desperately needed um, came from such a really tough journey. And I got a beautiful relationship with my husband out of it too. I just feel like I didn't give him, not that I had a bad one, but I didn't give him the time that he deserved. And he was amazing through this journey. He was my rock, my strength, my courage, my way to make me smile and laugh and giggle and all those things that I needed to have um, when I was crying or or feeling like this journey would never end, or why me,
And you talked about in your book what you guys had experienced in your marriage previous to your cancer diagnosis. Tell us a little bit about that. So just how you were
um
so ambitious with your job and, just kind of how that goes with so many of us.
yeah, I have always been focused on a career. I
Mhm.
Growing up, my mom was a mom, and that's all she wanted to be, and she is so phenomenal at being a mom, and she gave me that strength to go out and see the world, and she never did that. She never moved anywhere. I've lived in 3 or 4 states now, if I Massachusetts, Colorado, Missouri, Minnesota. So she kind of gave me that strength to go out and find myself, go be who I wanted to be. And so that's kind of, I was hardwired for that. Building a family wasn't that important. I wanted a relationship. I wanted to be with a man that I loved, and I found that. But I just kept pushing for that career. I worked a full time job. I wrote for multiple magazines in the Rochester, Minnesota area. I was working for a newspaper. I was teaching fitness classes. I mean, I my schedule was packed, and every single weekend I would get the question, "Okay, honey, what are we doing this weekend?" And well, I have this article to write, I have this article to write. Maybe Sunday night we can have dinner together or something.
Yeah.
And sometimes that wouldn't even happen. So I was pushing so hard to make this big fancy career that I thought would make me a successful person when I was kind of ignoring him, and that for him to allow that to happen for so many years, and then I get cancer and he's the most supportive person I've ever met. For him to help me in the shower when I had a migraine, bringing me Gatorade, rubbing my back, um, just the little things that he was doing, putting cat videos on while we were in the waiting room because tears start falling down my face. Just he just showed up, and he was just there.
Wow. And so you learned how to love yourself. You learned how to have confidence. You had a marriage that was kind of, two people kind of passing along where now you're like this,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
very close. And you mentioned something about your friends and realizing the impact that you were making without ever acknowledging it before. How hard was it for you to accept that support, that love, that the attention, the all the things that your friends did for you? Because your friends were amazing during this. I know that you've told me stories. So how was that for you at first, and how did you kind of grow into that to be okay with being accepting help, I guess?
That was hard. Um, I think because every difficult part of the journey, they just kept showing up. They just kept trying to find something to make things better. I We had parties, like, right before my double mastectomy, we had a party. Right before chemo, we had a party. They would give me gifts that I knew were going to be so necessary during the journey. Scarves and books to read, and ginger candies and jammies and button up tops and yoga pants, and just all of the things that I was going to need on a really hard journey. And I could just see every at every event, there was just so much love surrounding me that I couldn't not accept it. It was just everything. I was just so filled up with love that there was no turning back.
And now you're just pouring that into everybody else. And I just want you guys to listen to this. So if you are feeling kind of stuck right now, maybe you've just got a recent diagnosis of something really scary like this, and you're like, I just don't know how I'm going to ever get through this. Nicole, what kind of advice or tips or encouragement would you give somebody that is in the middle of this right now?
I think what helped me is, first of all, let go of the fear, let go of the anger, maybe try to find um, a support system. It may not even be a family member or a friend. The breast cancer organizations that I work with are, nonprofit organizations. So maybe finding a support group of someone who actually knows what's going to happen to you. Um, uh, Journaling is an incredible way to process emotions. In fact, I'm actually reading a book on expressive writing. Words That Heal is the name of the book, so that I can do a presentation on journaling for one of the organizations that I work with. Um, Getting things out on paper, talking about things, holding things in does nothing for your health. And then lean on your friends. Let them help. Let them bring you quiche. Let them bring you taco salads. Let them bring you desserts. Let everybody help you, because they're feeling really helpless. And
Yeah.
so all they want to do is to be able to do something. So if they want to come and clean your house or get you gift certificates for someone to clean your house, let them do it, and take a load off of yourself.
That's amazing advice. And so now I want to ask you the question, if there's somebody who's listening who knows someone who's going through something medically like this, what would you tell them? What can we use to help them kind of be the best friend, family member, person, support for the other people that they're caring about?
Certainly, that's a great question. I would highly recommend that family or friend to find out more about whatever illness, disease it is, so they can educate themselves. And then also reach out to those organizations and ask them questions. I know that the nonprofits that I work with, we are available to help family members to help their loved one through these things, just because we can give you tips on what to how to prepare for each appointment. um,
What would be a
Maybe a
tip?
little.
What would be a tip that you would give somebody? Like, give me an example of that.
um How about going with them to a doctor's appointment and writing down all the notes? Because I went to
Mm.
these appointments, some of them all by myself. And first of all, I'm not medical. And
Mhm.
second of all, there was no processing. I was just like a deer in headlights and getting
Yeah.
all the information. And so I sometimes felt like I was making these decisions just all willy nilly. And I wasn't really knowing what I was really the decision that I was actually making. And
Yeah.
I think having a second pair of ears there that's a little more objective about what's going on would be super helpful.
Is there anything that you would say or advise people to not do? Because I think that there's so many things we can do, but I want to know, like, is there anything I shouldn't do or shouldn't say in a generality that can make me be the best person I can be for somebody going through something like this?
Try not to just tell that person, "Oh, this is just another bump in the road. You'll be fine." Try to limit that downplaying,
Mm,
because the person that's going through something is not feeling that
that's
and
really wise.
wants to be yeah, wants to be heard and feel like what they're going through. It, it's scary for them. It's important for them. It's a life changing event. So don't downplay it. Don't make me
Yes.
feel like what I'm going through isn't going to alter the rest of my life, because
That's
it certainly could.
That's really, really good advice, Nicole, because I think so many people are well intended. They want to be positive for you, like, hey, guys, like, hey, guys, hey, girls, like, we got this. Like, we can get
Yep.
through this. This is just a bump in the road. And in trying to be an encourager, but like you said, what it is diminishing their experience. And
Yes.
so I really love that. That's such amazing advice. And I think that you've done such a great job of making this entire experience a gift for yourself and others. And so I'm going to ask you, if you were to speak to somebody right now that has never gone through something like this or doesn't know anybody who's gone through this, what kind of general life lesson, I guess, could we all take from your experience in order for us to become the best versions of ourselves?
Great question. Um, I think that allowing the allowing the changes to happen, being open to the new normal,
Mm,
accept accept the challenge that you've been given,
okay.
and try to keep a positive outlook. I know sometimes when we start getting that negative self-talk, those pity parties, those are allowed, but try not to wallow in it.
Mhm.
Always have some mantras available to you when you start going down that rabbit hole of negativity. Change your mindset. I always have something in my back pocket that I know I can just repeat to myself over and over until I finally forget that negative thing that I'm going through.
And that's so wise because we all are going through different things. Like everybody has their stuff, right? And
Hmm.
some of it's really big or some of it's really little, but it feels really big to us at the moment. And so I
Yes.
think that's just great advice in general to help us continue to move forward when life gets hard, no matter if it's a cancer diagnosis or if it's a financial crisis or if it's just that you feel like you're stumbling and don't know what the heck is going on in your life. Like whatever it is, those
Yeah.
though that self-talk and that mantra and that mindset is so huge. Okay, is there anything else that you wanted to say that we haven't touched on that I want to give you the opportunity to share?
Sure. I actually give this advice to my mentees and my support seekers that are going through breast cancer. Um, and this quote comes from Anne Lamott. She is she's a writer about writing, and her advice was, you can drive in the dark 250 miles by looking at things from the 20 feet ahead of you. Your headlights are showing you those 20 feet. And each of those 20 feet, you just make that 250 miles. So bite off small chunks, stay in the moment. You'll eventually get there.
Oh, I have goosebumps. Thank you so much for sharing. And I am going to ask you one last question.
Sure.
If you were to give our audience something to think about, a question to ponder that's going to help them move from where they are now to where they want to be, what would you have them consider?
What are the successes that you feel you've had in the past? And figure out where you want to go and how you can use those steps that you took to create success on different project, a way of life, whatever it is that you're looking for.
That is amazing advice for good days and bad. We have to remember the things that we've done well to give us that courage to continue to do things that are hard. So thank you so much. Nicole, I imagine I'm giving you a big hug right now. I'm so grateful that you were able to share your story with our audience. I'm going to put all of the information that our audience can use to get a hold of you, to buy your book, to follow your journey, all of the things, because I want them to get to know you and your beautiful big heart. So thank you so much for the time that you've given me today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And if there's any breast cancer patients, survivors out there that need any help, I'm here.
Aw, thanks so much, Nicole.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for listening. And if you know that you are made for more and you are tired of being held back and ready to get unstuck and step boldly into the life that you're meant to live, head on over to LachelleWeemy.com, request an appointment, and be ready for me to walk alongside of you personally to help you step boldly into the life that you are meant to live. I'll be back next week, but before you go, don't forget to hit subscribe and enjoy these imperfect outtakes.